Welcome back to English Flowcast, the space where stories help you slow down, learn English, and rediscover life in a calmer way. Today's story is called The Stillness Within. It's the journey of one woman, a young professional in a busy city, who learns that peace isn't found by escaping the world, but by learning how to breathe inside it. So close your eyes if you can, take a deep breath, let's step into the noise together. The story begins. Claire Bennett's alarm went off at 6:30 a.m. The same song every day, rise and shine, cheerful, robotic, and slightly annoying. She hit snooze once, twice, and finally gave up. Her hand reached for her phone before her eyes even opened. Notifications, 43 emails, 9 Slack messages, 2 missed calls, and a calendar filled with color-coded meetings. She scrolled quickly, reading half of everything, feeling all of it. Outside her window, the city was already awake. Honking cars, barking dogs, and the faraway cry of the train. It was the sound of a world that never stopped. Claire got up, made instant coffee, checked her phone again, and realized she had already lost 20 minutes doing nothing at all. Her apartment was modern. White walls, black furniture, a plant that was half alive, and a mirror she avoided on rushed mornings. She got dressed, grabbed her laptop bag, and left without breakfast. The street smelled like rain and gasoline. She walked fast, too fast. Earbuds in, news playing, thoughts racing. There was always something to catch up on. Messages, deadlines, dreams she'd forgotten. On the subway, she stood between 2 strangers. Everyone was staring at their phones. Hundreds of screens glowing like tiny windows to nowhere. She wanted to rest her mind, but the thoughts wouldn't stop. What if I'm not doing enough? What if this is all my life will ever be? The train jolted. Her heart jumped. She grabbed the cold metal pole. She felt tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that silence remembers. By 8:15, she was in the office. Glass walls, bright lights, and the smell of coffee machines and ambition. "Morning, Claire." Her coworker Alex smiled, handing her a paper cup. "Thanks," she said, forcing a polite grin. She liked Alex. She liked most of her colleagues, but lately, everyone sounded the same. Busy, tired, fine. Meetings blurred together. She nodded at the right times. She spoke when she needed to. But inside, it felt like she was watching herself live.
At lunch, she sat with the salad she didn't want, scrolling through social media. People posting vacations, new jobs, engagement photos. Everyone seemed to be doing something. Everyone seemed alive. Except her. She looked up and saw the reflection of herself in the glass door of the cafe. The same reflection she saw every day. Neat, composed, and slightly lost. For a moment, she wanted to walk out of the office, get on a train, and disappear to somewhere quiet. A cabin, a forest, a beach, anywhere but here. But the thought passed. The meeting reminder buzzed, and she went back inside. That night, she returned home past 8 p.m. The sky was dark, the streets glowing orange from streetlights and wet pavement. She dropped her bag on the floor, kicked off her heels, and sat on the couch. She turned on Netflix. 1 episode, then another, then 3. By midnight, her body was exhausted, but her mind was still spinning. She turned off the lights and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. In the silence, the city hummed like a distant heartbeat. "I can't remember the last time I felt calm," she whispered. The words disappeared into the dark. The next morning, it started again. Alarm, phone, rush, train, work, noise. Day after day, her life moved like a loop. Efficient, successful, empty. Until one Tuesday morning, something changed. The subway was crowded. She was standing, holding her coffee, scrolling through messages as usual. Suddenly, the train jerked to a stop between stations. Lights flickered. Someone sighed. Someone else cursed under their breath. Claire felt a wave of dizziness. Her chest tightened. Her breath shortened. Her heart began to race. She looked around. Faces, phones, noise, but no air. Her mind shouted, "I can't breathe!" The coffee cup dropped from her hand. Hot liquid splashed across the floor. A man beside her looked up. "Are you okay?" She nodded quickly, but she wasn't. She closed her eyes and tried to breathe. In, out. In, out. The lights came back. The train moved again. She held onto the pole like it was the only real thing in the world. When she got off, she didn't go to work. She sat on a bench outside the station, hands shaking, watching people walk by. Everyone in a hurry. Everyone with somewhere to go. She watched for a long time. Then she whispered, "I don't know how to live like this anymore." The sentence scared her, because it felt like the truest thing she'd said in years. That evening, she opened her laptop to search for something. She didn't know what. She typed, "How to find peace when life is too loud." Thousands of results appeared. Articles, podcasts, videos. She clicked one randomly, a short clip titled "The Quiet Experiment." In the video, a woman about her age said, "I spent 30 days doing nothing fast. No social media, no multitasking, no constant noise. I thought I'd fall behind. Instead, I found myself." She watched until the end. When the screen went black, she sat still. She picked up her notebook from the desk, the one filled with work notes and to-do lists, and on a blank page, she wrote 5 words: "My month of stillness." She didn't know what it meant yet, but something inside her, something buried under years of speed and screens, took a small, quiet breath.
The next morning, Claire woke up before her alarm. The city outside was still half asleep. Gray light touching the buildings, a quiet drizzle painting the glass. For a moment, she just lay there. No phone, no rush, just breathing. But after a few seconds, her fingers twitched, reaching automatically for her phone on the nightstand. She caught herself, froze, and whispered, "Not today." She pushed the phone into a drawer and closed it. It was a strange feeling, like taking off shoes after walking for miles, but still feeling the road under your feet. She stood by the window and watched the rain slide down the glass. Each drop looked like a tiny, slow world of its own. For the first time in years, she realized she didn't have to hurry anywhere. She made real coffee, not instant, not to go. She watched it drip, steam rising like breath. The smell filled the kitchen. Warm, deep, honest. She sat with her mug and stared at the notebook on the table. On the first page, she had written, "Day 1, no noise." Below it, she added, "No music, No phone, no TV before 6 p.m. Just quiet. She took a deep breath, and it felt heavier than she expected. Silence wasn't peaceful yet. It was uncomfortable. It made space for thoughts she didn't want to meet. By 10 a.m., she felt restless. She paced around the apartment, cleaning the same corner twice, checking the time every few minutes. Her mind begged for distraction. She opened the fridge, closed it, opened it again. Then she stopped and laughed at herself. Wow, I can't even be quiet for 1 hour. She poured another cup of coffee and sat back down. On the next page of her notebook, she wrote, "It's not the noise outside that exhausts me. It's the noise inside."
At noon, she went for a walk. The rain had stopped, and the city smelled like wet pavement and clean air. She left her earbuds at home, the hardest part of her new rule. At first, the world felt too loud. Car horns, people talking, buses passing. She wanted to hide inside music, but slowly, she began to hear things she never noticed before. The soft shuffle of leaves under her shoes, the laughter of children echoing from the park, the rhythm of footsteps, her own heartbeat walking beside her. She realized that the city hadn't changed, only the way she listened to it. When she reached the small park near Lake Michigan, she sat on a wooden bench. An old man was painting on a canvas nearby. His strokes were slow and sure. After a while, he turned and smiled at her. "Strange, isn't it? How loud the world feels when you first try to be quiet?" She blinked. "Yes, exactly." He nodded. "I stopped wearing headphones 5 years ago. Now the city sings to me." Claire smiled softly. "What do you paint?" "Moments. Little ones. They don't stay long, so I catch them." She watched him dip his brush into soft blue paint and drag it gently across the canvas. It was the lake, calm, imperfect, alive. He added, "You can't rush peace. It only visits people who wait for it." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence between them was enough. That evening, she cooked dinner slowly, sautéed vegetables, rice, and lemon tea. No phone, no show, no background noise. The quiet felt different now. Not empty, just wide. After dinner, she opened her window. The rain had returned, soft, steady, whispering. She turned off the lights and sat by the window, listening. There was no music, no scrolling, no voices, only rain. And for the first time in months, her breathing matched its rhythm. Later that night, she picked up her notebook again. The words came slowly, like tiny footsteps finding their way home. Day 1. Stillness is heavy at first, but under the weight, I can feel something true. She paused, then added another line. I forgot how to breathe. Today, I began to remember. She closed the notebook and whispered, "Good night, world." The city outside glowed. Cars moving, trains running, life still fast. But inside her small apartment, the world was finally still.
Claire woke up early, again without an alarm. It was day 3 of her month of stillness. The air outside was cold and blue, the kind of morning that asks you to move slowly. She stretched, opened the window, and let the air in. Her phone was still in the drawer, a small victory that already felt like peace. She made coffee and opened her notebook. Day 3. My mind wants noise. My soul wants space. She smiled. Writing felt different now. Each word was a mirror, quiet but honest. When she arrived at work, the office looked the same. Bright lights, buzzing screens, the smell of burnt coffee. But something inside her had shifted. She walked to her desk, placed her phone face down, and took one slow breath before opening her emails. It didn't change the workload. It changed her pace. At lunch, she left her phone behind and ate alone on a bench outside. She watched people walking, everyone moving quickly, faces tight, eyes fixed on invisible screens. She thought, that was me. Then she thought, maybe it still is. A pigeon landed near her shoe. She dropped a crumb of bread, and for a few seconds, that was enough. Just her, the sky, and a bird not worrying about the future. That evening, she stopped by a bookstore on her way home. She wasn't looking for anything in particular. She just wanted to be surrounded by pages again. Inside, it smelled of wood and paper and quiet people. She wandered to a shelf marked Mindful Living. There were titles about simplicity, peace, slow mornings, gentle habits. One book caught her eye, The Art of Doing Nothing. She opened it and read a line that made her heart slow down. Doing nothing is not wasting time. It is how the soul catches up with the body. She bought it. Not for answers, but for company. On day 5, she decided to extend her experiment beyond silence. She made a new list in her notebook. No multitasking, walk without rushing, eat slowly, no phone during meals, end each day with gratitude. Simple, but new. The kind of rules no one teaches, until life teaches them. At first it wasn't easy. Her mind kept searching for distractions. While she ate, she wanted a video. While she walked, she wanted music. While she worked, she wanted to finish faster. She noticed how deeply her body was trained for speed. Even her heart seemed to race for no reason. But every time she remembered her list, she would stop, take a breath, and whisper to herself, "Be here." One Saturday, she took a train to the lakeshore. No phone, no headphones, just herself, the notebook, and the sky. She sat on a bench overlooking the water. Waves hit the rocks in small silver rhythms. The world moved slowly, and for once, she did too. An elderly woman sat beside her. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened a sandwich wrapped in foil. They smiled at each other. "Beautiful day," the woman said. "Yes," Claire replied. "Feels rare." The woman nodded. "Not rare, just unnoticed. The world is beautiful every day. Most people are just too busy looking down." Claire felt a soft ache in her chest, the ache of truth that feels kind. They sat together for a while, not talking, not checking time, just sharing silence. When the woman left, Claire wrote in her notebook, "I met peace today. She sat beside me and ate a sandwich." By day 10, something subtle was happening. She no longer needed to force stillness. It began to appear on its own, in small gaps between work emails, in the soft light of her morning kitchen, in the smile of the barista downstairs. She noticed things, like how sunlight painted golden shapes on her desk, how her plants leaned toward the window, how her breathing calmed when she washed dishes slowly. Life hadn't changed, but the way she met it had. One afternoon, her coworker Alex asked, "You okay? You seem different, calm. Did you quit caffeine or something?" She laughed. "Maybe I quit chaos." He smiled. "Teach me that trick someday." She didn't answer. She couldn't explain yet. It wasn't a trick. It was a remembering. By day 15, she noticed her evenings had become sacred. She made tea instead of pouring wine. She lit a candle instead of turning on the TV.
She listened to the rain instead of podcasts. One night, she wrote, "Stillness is not silence, it's presence. It's being fully awake in small moments." She stared at the candle flame. It flickered gently, steady at the core. She whispered, "Maybe that's what I want to be." Week 3 came with temptation. Deadlines increased. Group chats buzzed. Friends posted photos of vacations and new jobs.
Her hand hovered over her phone one morning. Her brain whispered, "Just 5 minutes." But she stopped. She looked out the window. The sky was enough. She realized how easy it was to leave her own life by watching everyone else's. So she stayed. In her life, in her moment, in her morning. By day 21, she began each morning with a new habit. After brushing her teeth, she stood still, closed her eyes, and took 5 slow breaths. That's all. 5 breaths that didn't change the world, but changed the way she entered it. By day 25, her coworkers started noticing the difference. Alex joked, "You look like someone who meditates in traffic." She smiled. "Maybe I do. It helps." They laughed, but inside she felt proud. Not proud of perfection, proud of peace. On day 28, she met the old painter again in the park. He was sitting under a tree, sketching pigeons. She waved. He grinned. "You again. Have you learned to hear the city song yet?" She nodded. "Sometimes. It's softer now." He chuckled. "Ah, that means you're listening better." He tore a small paper from his sketchbook and handed it to her. It was a quick drawing, a simple line of the lake, a tiny figure on a bench, and above it, one sentence written in pencil. "Peace begins when hurry ends." She smiled. "Thank you." He said, "No, thank you for sitting still long enough to see it." That night, she opened her notebook for the final entry of the month. Day 30. I thought I'd find peace by escaping. Instead, I found it by staying. The noise didn't disappear. I just stopped being part of it. She closed the notebook slowly. No fireworks, no epiphany, just quiet contentment, deep and soft like a blanket. For the first time, stillness didn't feel like doing nothing. It felt like being alive.
It had been raining for 2 days straight, the kind of rain that doesn't shout, but stays whispering softly against windows, patient and constant. Claire loved it, or at least she thought she did. She made tea and opened her window slightly. The smell of rain filled her small apartment, fresh, metallic, alive. She sat on the couch with her notebook on her lap. But today, the words didn't come easily. She felt heavy, as if the clouds were sitting inside her chest. For the first time in weeks, the quiet didn't feel peaceful. It felt lonely. She looked around the apartment. Everything was clean, calm, organized, but her heart felt messy, a place still full of unfinished feelings. She had been busy with peace, learning, walking, breathing, writing, but she hadn't truly felt in a long time. Now the silence gave those feelings room to move. Memories surfaced like old postcards. Her father's hospital bed, the breakup she never talked about, the years she spent being strong for everyone else. She closed her eyes. The sound of rain grew louder. Tears came quietly. Not a breakdown, just a release. "I forgot this part," she whispered. "The quiet doesn't just heal, it reveals." Later that evening, she walked outside with her umbrella. The streets were shiny, reflections dancing on the wet ground. Traffic lights painted red and gold on the puddles. People hurried by, heads down. She walked slowly, as if moving through another world. On the corner of her street, she saw a man sitting under the bus stop shelter, soaked, holding a small cardboard sign. Just hungry. Anything helps. Something inside her paused. She hesitated, not because she didn't care, but because she didn't know what to say. She looked in her bag, only an apple and her notebook. She took the apple out and offered it to him. "It's not much, but..." The man smiled. His eyes were tired but kind. "It's perfect. Thank you." She nodded. Then, unexpectedly, he asked, "You doing okay?"
She blinked, surprised. "I think so," she said softly. "Just a quiet night." He nodded toward the rain. "Quiet's good. That's when God does his best work." Claire didn't know what to say. She smiled, wished him warmth, and walked away feeling something shift. Not sadness, not joy, something real. Back home, she lit a candle and sat by the window. The rain still played its endless rhythm. She took her pen and began to write. Today, the world cried with me. The rain didn't ask why, it just stayed. She paused, then added, "Peace is not the absence of emotion. It's the courage to feel everything slowly." Days passed. The rain continued, sometimes soft, sometimes wild. Each drop seemed to wash something old away. Claire started walking every evening, rain or not. One night, she saw the old painter again. He was standing under a big red umbrella, sketching the reflection of the city lights on the wet street. "Still painting in the rain?" she asked, smiling. He turned, his eyes bright. "Especially in the rain. The colors are more honest." She tilted her head. "Honest?" "Yes," he said. "The light reflects differently when it meets water. Just like people. You see their true colors when they're a little broken." She thought about that long after he left. About how rain doesn't hide anything. It simply makes everything shine a little deeper. A few nights later, she sat on the floor beside her bed with her notebook. She wrote a letter, not to anyone else, but to herself. "Dear Claire, you've spent years trying to be fine, but you don't have to be fine all the time. You can be tired. You can be quiet. You can be a little lost. What matters is that you stay gentle with yourself, with your heart, with this world." She stopped writing, and for a moment, she just breathed. Her apartment was small. Her life was still uncertain, but her soul was finally resting. The next morning, the sky was clear. The city looked washed and new. She went for a walk by the lake. The water glittered in soft sunlight. Children were feeding ducks. A man was playing guitar near a bench.
She smiled as she passed. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel separate from the world. She felt part of it. Imperfect, alive, breathing, present. When she came home, she made breakfast slowly. Toast, eggs, orange slices, tea. She set the table even though she lived alone. It was a small ceremony of care. She took a photo, not to post online, but to remember how peace looked in the morning light. Then she opened her notebook again and wrote, "The sound of rain taught me this. Peace isn't about control. It's about surrender. The world moves fast, but I don't have to. She closed the book and smiled. Outside, the city had already begun another noisy day. But this time, it didn't disturb her. It just moved, and so did she. Quietly, slowly, freely.
The first few weeks after the rain were gentle. Claire had found her rhythm: slow mornings, evening walks, quiet tea before bed. The city still rushed, but she no longer followed its pace. Yet one Sunday afternoon, as the world outside buzzed with life, she sat in her apartment and felt empty. There was no noise, no problem, no reason, just a deep, quiet heaviness. It wasn't sadness exactly. It was something softer, a kind of loneliness that didn't hurt, but pressed gently against her ribs like an ache. She picked up her notebook but couldn't write. She stood up, walked around, made coffee, sat back down, and still the silence grew. It was strange. She had fought for quiet, but now it felt like the quiet was fighting her. She stared at her reflection in the window. The rain had stopped days ago, but inside, her heart still dripped with something she couldn't name. "Why do I feel so heavy?" she whispered. The next morning, she went for her usual walk by the lake. The air was cool, and the water shimmered with early light. She sat on her favorite bench and watched the waves move, gentle, endless, patient. After a few minutes, she noticed a young woman nearby, sitting on the ground with a sketchbook. Her pencil moved quickly, lines dancing across the page. Claire smiled and asked softly, "Are you an artist?" The woman looked up, surprised, then smiled shyly. "Trying to be. I draw what I feel." "What are you drawing today?" Claire asked. The woman turned the page around. It was a picture of the lake, but instead of calm water, she had drawn waves shaped like faces, as if the water itself carried people's emotions. Claire tilted her head. "That's beautiful." The woman shrugged. "Some days the quiet feels heavy, like it's full of every emotion I haven't processed yet." Claire froze for a moment. That was exactly how she felt. She nodded slowly. Yes, I know." The woman smiled, then returned to her sketching. Claire sat there for a long time, watching her draw, listening to the soft waves, realizing she wasn't the only one who carried a heavy quiet.
That evening, she came home and opened her notebook again. This time, the words flowed like a slow river. Stillness is not only peace. Sometimes it's pain that finally has room to speak. The world kept me busy for years, but now that I've stopped, my heart is catching up. She put down the pen and looked around her apartment. Everything looked the same: the soft light, the green plant, the candle on the shelf, but she felt herself changing. A few days later, she decided to take a day off work. No meetings, no screens, no plans. She went to the botanical garden on the edge of the city. It was quiet there, just the hum of insects and the rustle of leaves. She wandered through paths lined with flowers and stones, breathing in the smell of soil after rain. Every few steps, she paused, not because she was tired, but because the world looked too beautiful to rush past. A small butterfly landed on her hand. She froze, smiling, watching its wings open and close like slow breathing. "You're lighter than I feel," she whispered, laughing softly. When it flew away, she realized she'd been holding her breath. She exhaled, and for a moment, she felt weightless too. She found a bench under a tree and sat down. A gardener nearby was trimming plants. They nodded to each other. After a while, he said, "You're sitting very still. That's rare here." She smiled. I'm learning how. He wiped his hands and said, most people walk through gardens like they're racing the flowers. She chuckled and, that used to be me. Well, he said, flowers don't hurry. They still bloom on time. His words sank deep. She repeated them softly. They still bloom on time. When she got home, she wrote the sentence on a small note and pinned it to her mirror. Every morning after that, she saw it while brushing her teeth. And slowly, it became her truth. She stopped judging her progress, her job, her habits, her healing. She understood that growth wasn't visible every day, but that didn't mean it wasn't happening. Like a flower, she was blooming, quietly, on her own time.
One evening, as she sat watching the sunset through her window, she thought about her old life, the rushing, the multitasking, the endless search for validation. And she whispered, I forgive you. It wasn't a dramatic moment. It was gentle, like finally setting down a heavy bag she'd been carrying without realizing. That night, she called her mom. They talked for almost an hour about little things, about nothing important, and somehow that felt important. Before hanging up, her mother said, You sound different lately. Peaceful. Claire smiled. I think I'm learning how to be. Her mother paused, then said, That's a lesson worth learning. Later, as she prepared for bed, the quiet didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt full of memory, forgiveness, stillness, and the kind of hope that doesn't shout but hums softly beneath the surface. She wrote one last sentence before sleeping. When you finally stop running, your heart will find you. She closed her eyes. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, and for once, she didn't need music to fall asleep.